Macau has long been known as the Las Vegas of Asia, but in recent months the tables have turned. The boom there has seen its earnings surpass those of its American counterpart. Good news for the casino owners and for government tax revenues. But in this edition of 101 East, we ask, who are the losers when the global gaming operators come to town? Several regional governments are now revising their gaming laws in the hope of emulating Macau's economic success. But are they prepared for the social fallout? Fawzia Ibrahim takes a look at the impact of Macau's casino boom and, after a 40-year ban, Singapore's decision to open 2 casino resorts.
Macau knows how to put on a show. Its glittering lights, dazzling entertainment, and the promise of striking the elusive jackpot attracts an average of 15 million tourists each year. Most are from mainland China, crossing the border to try their luck in one of the 27 casinos. But Henry, not his real name, knows only too well how easily the game of fortune can turn sour. He's been a gambling addict for the last 18 years. He's borrowed heavily from friends and family. Henry only woke up to his problem when his wife and 3-year-old daughter left him.
My wife initially insisted I change my ways, but I could not break my addiction, so she divorced me. I think my daughter will hate me when she grows up and will not want to admit I am her father. I blame myself for the breakup of my family. I thought about committing suicide.
Instead, Henry sought help from a church-based group and regularly attends counseling sessions. He hasn't gambled for the last 3 months, but working as a casino dealer means struggling with his demons every day.
I owe so many people money, and this job has a high salary. That's why I continue to work in a casino. I think quitting gambling is difficult. I've seen several of my friends quit, but no matter if they quit for 1 year or 5 years, they still come back to it. It's like an illness. 2 of my colleagues committed suicide recently because of gambling.
Henry isn't alone in his addiction. Studies show the number of problem gamblers in Macau has risen in the last 4 years. The figure seems to correlate with the enclave's casino boom after its gaming licenses were liberalized. Between 2003 and 2007, major international gambling houses competed to build grand casino resorts.
Macau people has never faced such a significant increase in gaming development before. Compared with our study conducted in 2003, during that time the percentage of problem gamblers in Macau is about 1.78%. And for the research that we conducted in last year, we see an increase in the numbers of problem gambling.
Before, we can say it's not a big problem, but now with the increase of the industry, we can say that we worry about this. The Social Welfare Bureau create a special division to take care of all these problems related with this issue.
One measure being considered is raising the casino entry and employment age limit from the current 18 to 21. These students at a casino training center are among the many school leavers attracted to the gaming industry's offer of high salaries for low qualifications. Some counselors say this has contributed to gambling addiction amongst the youth.
The young generation is immature, and also they are low education level, okay? They have limited life experience when they work in casino because they can see all the money every day and they can see the people earn money easily every day, so it is risky for them.
Casinos are also encouraged to provide information for problem gamblers seeking help, but counseling hotline posters pale in comparison to the more exciting offers of gaming and entertainment opportunities in the casino. Social workers say the government is reluctant to push responsible gaming when up to 70% of the economy comes from the gambling industry. Macau's bright lights and promise of big money earned it a record $10 billion last year. This Chinese enclave isn't just attracting the high rollers, but also the attention of governments around the region. Several countries are now considering relaxing their own gaming laws in order to cash in on the casino resort industry. In the next few years, Asia's existing casino scene is expected to become extremely competitive. Vietnam has plans to open a $4 billion gaming resort near Ho Chi Minh City. Laos will issue 10 more casino licenses. The Philippines has its own plans for a gaming complex in Manila Bay. Taiwan, Thailand and Japan are now considering legalizing casinos. And Singapore finds itself in the spotlight as it prepares to open 2 casino resorts next year. The decision to allow casino operators on its shore sparked public debate in this usually subservient city-state. Many Singaporeans look to Macau's growing gambling problems and worry that a similar scenario could develop here. The fear is compounded by a recent government survey showing that without legalized casino gambling, already 2.1% of the population is at risk of developing a gambling addiction. For some, this spells trouble.
When you open the Pandora's box, you got to expect what will happen, right? And we are purposefully opening that Pandora's box. And we just have to accept the consequences, I feel. And this is a gamble, to me, is a gamble that is too expensive.
As part of efforts to allay such concerns, the government set up the National Council on Problem Gambling 4 years before the casino doors even open. But it remains to be seen if progressive Singapore and other countries will be able to reap the economic benefits of the casino industry without the negative social impacts.
Well, joining me now in the studio are Dr. Jairam Muthuswamy from Kent State University in the USA, Dr. P. Sundramurti, a criminologist from the University of Science, Malaysia, and by satellite from Adelaide in South Australia, we have Robert Mittiger, a specialist in treating gambling addiction. Gentlemen, thank you all for being with us today.
Thank you.
Let me begin, if I might, with a broad perspective on this. The gambling problem, such that it is, let me ask you, in the world of criminology, how serious is it when compared to general criminality in other aspects, whether they be fueled by alcohol or drugs or anything else?
It is a problem, but it's a problem that we can contain, and it all depends on consistent enforcement, whether there's legalized gambling in the country or there isn't, and the accessibility to counseling or psychotherapy centers. So it can be balanced, but I don't think it is any more far damaging than drug addiction or alcoholism.
Robert Mittiger, you're obviously involved at the sharp end of the problems that gambling can cause. But if you can step back for a second, what is it, do you think, about gambling that scares people so much?
Well, gambling addiction and gambling is actually, I see it as a drug. It's something that is glorified, glamorized, and probably the greatest problem with gambling is that it gives the illusion or fantasy that there's money.
But is it any worse a drug than actual drugs, for instance?
Well, you know, it's a bit hard to compare drugs and alcohol and gambling. However, you know, the pathology from it is very similar. The big problem with gambling is it can be hidden for so long. You know, a drug addict or alcoholic sooner or later is going to fall down. They're going to have physical problems. They're going to have all sorts of problems, okay? A gambling addict is just one little win away from continuing his addiction.
I just want to put a question to Jairam and move it on to the other thing. We'll get onto the addiction stage in a second, but Jairam, on the other side of this equation, obviously we have a number of governments who are beginning to see that the economic benefits can be great and beginning to feel that the problems that Robert's talking about are in fact controllable. Let's talk about the economics for a second. How great are the benefits?
Sure. So I'll put on my economist cap because that's exactly my profession as an economist. And I was trained in the University of Chicago, where we believe in a laissez-faire attitude towards the economy rather than a control top-down approach. And if you look at it that way, I think that in the big picture, the idea of a casino is incredibly right in terms of stoking the economy.
I mean, how much do they stoke the economy?
A lot. I mean, if you think about, say, certain economies like Macau, of course, we don't have to say anything more, like the economy. But in terms of like the American going to Nevada and Las Vegas, they are a substantial, certainly not trivial part of the economy, in the sense they give rise to jobs, to things that what we call have multiplier effects in the economy.
Right. So as an economist, you've seen the numbers working out very good. But Robert, at your end, you're seeing the effects at the downside. But are the problems that you're seeing significantly great as to outweigh the benefits that Jairam's talking about?
We have to ask ourselves, why is it that governments want to do this? Why is it that, you know, we need to create this massive gambling industry
for
to
money.
Stimulate economy? Well, for money, that's correct, but at what cost? I mean, we're talking about people losing their lives, children going to school without food, children
but this is
being
the same
abandoned.
with other social problems as well, Robert. I mean, with drug addiction or crime, etc. And by legitimizing gambling, an industry or an economy which has existed for a long time, at least there's control over it. The undesirable elements can be minimized or controlled by legalizing gambling, especially in this part of the world where there's a lot of gambling that takes place on a daily basis.
The thing is, though, you have a major conflict of interest here. You have governments which are basically major beneficiaries of this industry, okay? And the question I say to you is we have governments who are making massive amounts of money from this through taxes, right? However, you know, to balance that out, we need these governments to put back a lot of money back into treatment and rehabilitation.
At the moment, we're just talking in fairly general terms. Well, we're going to take a short break, and when we come back, I want to address the issue from a much more personal perspective. Let's bring it home to where it really matters. After this short break, we'll tell you the poignant story of one family that was destroyed by the mother's insatiable craving for gambling. Stay with us. We're back in a couple of minutes.